and a power to help these people and to recover. But the recovery is going to take years,
Right. And
it's
like
not
you
going to
said,
happen overnight.
we're going to have to like step back and reevaluate the approach on how we, like how, a storm is going to be like announced and
Right.
how, like the warnings and watches are going to be announced because it's traumatizing. It's PTSD.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Tens of thousands of people now have PTSD, scared of storms, traumatized, unfathomable to think about the kids. Like every time it storms, they're going to be scared.
right.
So there's going to have to be, some counseling support for the schools, bring in mental health, hopefully bring in mental health officials, parents, maybe some handouts to parents. We're trying to get some mental health paperwork to some of the teachers and how to talk to kids after a tornado, things like that. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are now absolutely terrified of storms.
Right.
And it's going to make our job much more difficult as meteorologists. How do we message that without scaring people? Because up until this event, I think most people in our area are hyper aware of weather. We have
Right.
ice storms, we have tornadoes, we have severe thunderstorms, we have a little bit of everything. So people were aware before this, but this is a whole different beast.
Right.
And it's kind of like the ice storm. After the ice storm, forecasters had to be really careful about using the word ice. You wouldn't just say, well, we may have ice Friday night. You can't just leave it at that because there's 300 comments, people saying,
Right.
is this going to be like 2009? Is this going to be like 2009? You have to go into more detail and say, we're going to have a little bit of ice, maybe a quarter of an inch. This
Watch
is
out
what
for
that
patches
looks
on the
like.
road,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, too.
It's the same with now. It's going to be the same with severe weather, which is unfortunate because we do have a lot of severe weather in our area. Ice storms
Right.
are rare, so thankfully we don't have to deal with that every year.
Right.
But we have to deal with tornadoes every year. So we'll have to figure out how to message in a better way to help people stay calm and not panic during an event and make good choices. But not, our goal will be to help people through the storm, to help comfort them, to help make them feel more at peace, to give them the information they need. And if another tornado comes, here's your safety rules. This is what you do to prepare on days like that. We'll be a little more, we'll have to be a little more compassionate about how we handle questions and just the amount of fear that this is going to bring. Because I'm
Right.
already getting messages from people that, for example, we have thunderstorms in the forecast this coming week for the area, Thursday and Friday, December 16th and 17th. But we're not expecting severe weather. But I'm already getting people that are scared because there's thunderstorms in the
Sure.
forecast.
And it's warm right now.
Yeah, and some of them are texting me like 10 times a day or something. So
Oh,
I can
gosh.
tell they're scared. So we're going to have to figure out messaging. All the forecasters we're discussing this already internally, how we're going to message future severe weather events because this is exceedingly rare.
Right.
Can it happen again? Yeah, history repeats. The
Sure.
1925 tornado, now this one, similar. But it's exceedingly rare, just like the ice storm with 2 inches of freezing rain. That may be a generational event, once in a generation, once in 50 to 100 years. So, when we have tornadoes and severe weather in the future, the odds of something like this happening again are very, very low.
Right.
We're going to have to try to help people to understand that. And that was difficult during the ice storm and afterwards too, because people are just traumatized. There was so much damage after the ice storm. And really there's no comparison now to this. This is something on a whole nother level of devastation.
I mean, ice and broken trees and stuff can only do so much damage.
Right.
That, it's not like the wind that comes through just like wipes out a whole town.
Right.
Like this.
This is a catastrophe.
Yes, this is absolutely, this is like a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so proud of like how meteorologists handled everything with, in our area. And maybe it's just because, I think it's a little bit of being from a small town and everybody, trying to look out for one another and love, really taking their job serious. I think that has a lot to do with it. And it's like, you guys are like on the front line. I mean, it's you all that are like up all night long. You all don't get a break. You all don't get to, get to sleep. And I mean, I'm appreciative of that. But I'm so glad. I mean, we really have really good group of
We do.
meteorologists and, weather people in this area, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, I agree. We have some great radio meteorologists. We have Channel 3, 6, and 12 with the best of the best. I watched the coverage that night in the background too while I was doing my warnings and work, and I just thought it was exceptional coverage.
Right.
By the
And you
local
could tell in their
meteorologists.
voice they were sincere.
Yeah.
They weren't just like, because they're away from their families.
Right.
To bring
We
news
have
to your
family here
families.
too, right? We have to worry about our own families.
Exactly.
and everyone
Exactly.
else's.
Yeah.
You could hear the fear in their voices.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I thought that they presented it in a way that you knew this is something different. This is just not a normal storm.
Yeah, it's like we're
Get
not
underground,
just exactly.
cover
It's
up,
like
get a blanket, get a mattress.
mhm.
I mean, you were telling them things that to jolt them to take action. That this is the real deal. This is debris on radar. This is a debris ball that we're watching. That on radar is nothing but debris moving into Mayfield, moving into Benton, Dawson Springs, and on and on. You just knew it was bad by watching the coverage. It wasn't just
Right.
a normal break-in for severe weather. And the days leading up to it, the message was strong too. It
Sure.
increasingly got stronger, as we became more confident.
Mhm.
We weren't confident even the night before that we would have severe weather because we had a cap on the atmosphere, which is a warm layer of air.
Mhm.
Thunderstorm is air rising and hits that and it knocks it back down. If the cap doesn't break, you have no severe weather.
Mhm.
And so even the morning of the event, we were all trying to figure out, is the cap going to break? And we came to the conclusion, unfortunately, that yeah, the cap's going to break. So then we increased our message even more.
Right.
And,
And there's only so much stress that you can put
yeah,
on
I
people.
don't think there's, I really honestly feel like that meteorologists did everything in their power to prevent the loss of life. The weather service, the warnings were just exceptional.
Yeah, you
Tornado
can lead a horse to
emergencies.
water, and
Yeah.
that's what you all did. You can't make them drink. It's
And to be fair, and that's something that it didn't matter for some people. They did everything right. They did what they were told. But when something this
out of
devastating,
your
EF4,
power.
EF5, some people are going to die,
Right.
unfortunately. So all you can do is follow the safety rules, and then you just hope for the best. But I know people have died doing everything right. They took shelter in a basement, and they did it right, and yet they still died because maybe something fell on them. It's just, chance that something like that happens. So I feel like that people were sheltering and took shelter and were listening and knew this was bad. But I think for some people, unfortunately, it just was too much.
right. And now here's the aftermath, and now we have to just go forward with it. And it's like, where do you even begin? Everything is such a mess. But I mean, you just got to stick together. We're all into this together, and we just have to help each other and donate and search local causes to don't just show up somewhere and say, okay, I'm here to help. It doesn't work like that. That's you're more trouble than you are help. So yeah, looking up for the go to the library. We've got resources. Red Cross and FEMA, and go to looking up resources like that. Where to take baby stuff, where to take stuff for the elderly, food, clothes, monetary donations. So, but
Right. I think that there is already an overwhelming response. I'm hoping that a lot of focus is on Mayfield. I'm hoping that Casey, Dawson Springs, and other Benton, Cambridge area, hopefully no one falls through the cracks. I don't think they will. But there's an overwhelming response right now, volunteers.
right, and even for those who lost their lives, unfortunately, if they didn't have insurance, I mean, they're gonna have to worry about funerals, and
Right.
they can't locate their loved ones. That's just so horrible to imagine, but there's just it's such a hard time right now for everyone.
Yeah,
It's
and
so
at Christmas.
fast at Christmas.
Yeah. And I was telling somebody today, I'm like, maybe think outside the box and try to come up with some ideas. One idea we're pushing out there is ask the school teachers of these students.
Right.
They know I've talked to several school teachers. They've been in contact with their students and their families. They were all trying to figure out, is everyone okay? But ask if you have school teacher friends in the tornado zone, or maybe you weren't impacted, but maybe some other kids ask the teacher, do you have a a specific family that
So
you
can
know
concentrate
needs
on
help.
it. Right.
Help that family. If everybody does something, it all adds up.
Right.
Because you're right, it's completely overwhelming. And when you see the damage, you just freeze because your body's like trying to. How do you comprehend
You can't process
this?
it.
You can't process
It's overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
just like, where do we even start? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing, everybody do one thing, and that will help. That's how this will all be fixed. Is everybody, like you said, working together as a group, as a team, as a community, and we'll get through this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be complicated at times. To rebuild the town doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's just going to take years, but we'll get there. You know,
Right.
we'll get there.
And sadly, sometimes it takes something like this to make you appreciate your community, you know, and like you're going through so much turmoil and there's so much hate in the world and so forth. And sometimes, you know, it's like it takes something horrible like this to make you step back and think, oh my gosh, you know, it's like we really need to stick together because anything can happen, like literally, and we have to be there for one another, you know, for each other. We're all in this together. We all live on this earth together. So anyway.
Right. No, you're right. Nobody woke up Friday morning
And expected this.
my town's going to be gone tonight.
Right.
And you know, life is fragile, and our region just happens to live in an area that has a lot of disasters.
Right.
Usually not to this scale, but every
Even like
year
the
somebody
hurricane,
gets
you know,
hit.
we were talking about the hurricane winds that we had right before the ice storm, you know, I mean, that was insane too. I mean, we were
Right.
out without power through that. I mean, I lived in South Fulton then, and like we didn't have power for like a week. I mean, who would think that inland, so far inland, would
Right.
be affected like that,
Yeah.
you know? And then here comes the ice storm a couple months later.
Yeah.
So, but we just got to do what we can do and be helpful and grateful and kind to one another and don't lose our patience.
Right, a whole lot of patience is going to be required to get through this.
It really is.
There's going to be trying days for everyone. I mean, people are traumatized, and it's not going to be an easy process.
Right.
So I think everyone has to buckle up and just be prepared.
understanding.
You be very understanding and
Because
compassionate.
not everybody's on the same level as far as trauma and,
Right.
you know, like comprehending things and handling things and, you know, everybody's different.
Yeah.
We all function in different ways and, you know, comprehend in different ways and you know, we just got to be nice. That's it.
Be nice.
Right.
That's a
Just
good
be
way to
nice.
put it.
Just be nice, everybody.
It's free to be nice, somebody said.
That's right. It's
It
free
doesn't
to be
cost
nice.
anything to be nice.
That's right. That's exactly it. Yes, we need to be more like that. Well, thank you both so much for doing this program for the McCracken County Public Library. I appreciate it greatly. We appreciate it greatly. And stay tuned for more videos. Bye, guys. See ya.